Jai Sriman Narayan. Jai Sriman Narayan. Jai Sriman Narayan. I pay my obeisances to my spiritual master, Srimad Jagat Guru Sudarshan Acharyaji Maharaj. I pay my obeisances to Lord Sri Ramanuj. I pay my obeisances to Mother Lakshmi. And I pay my obeisances to Lord Sriman Narayan. I want to welcome everyone to the fifth day. Is it the fourth day? Fifth. The fifth day of the Maha Samadhi week of my spiritual master, Srimad Jagat Guru Sudarshan Acharyaji Maharaj. I welcome all of you that are seated here at the Sri Narayan Dham in Durban, South Africa, and I welcome those of you that are watching this discourse on live feed from wherever you are. Through the grace of the very first Acharya, Lord Sriman Narayan, through the grace of the middle Acharya, Lord Sri Ramanuj, and through the grace of my own Acharya, Swami Sudarshan Acharyaji Maharaj, I attempt to discuss the Bhagavad Gita as translated and commentated by Lord Sri Ramanuj 1,000 years ago. To date, we are still discussing the background to the Bhagavad Gita, which is the essence of Sanatan Dharma. Itself. Remember, the Bhagavad Gita is embedded in an epic called the Mahabharata. The original Mahabharata has 6 million verses. Original Mahabharata has 6 million verses. 3 million of these verses were spoken to the Devis and Devatas by Narad Muni. 1.5 million verses were spoken to the Gandharvas and Apsaras. 4 million verses spoken to the Pittars, and 100,000 has reached mankind. 100,000 has reached mankind, compiled by Srila Vedavyas. So it's just 100,000 verses from 6 million verses of the Mahabharata that's recorded for the purposes of mankind. And as I explained, that the Vedas are infinite, it will be incomprehensible for man to know everything. And I've also explained that when the Supreme Personality of Godhead descends, He descends to help the entire universe, starting and ending with every aspect of the universe. The human, the animals, the Pittas, the Devis and Devatas, and the demons. So we will, for the purposes of the introduction to the Bhagavad Gita, discuss the compiler. The compiler was the son of a great saint, Parasara or Parsara. And I'm going to explain to you how he was born. There was once a fisherman who was fishing, and he caught a fish, and when he opened up the fish, there was a boy and a girl in the fish. There's another story to this, which is not necessary at the moment, okay? Leading up to how this boy and girl landed up in the fish. It is not relevant now, and if it becomes relevant in my topic, in discussing the Bhagavad Gita, then I will revert to this discussion again. However, the fisherman took this boy and girl to a king, and the king took the son and returned the girl to the fisherman. The son became the famous king, Matsya. The girl assisted her father in fishing, and she controlled the fishing, handled the fishing business for her father. And she looked absolutely beautiful, but smelt of fish. Okay. And this saint, Parsara, was enchanted by her beauty, and he informed her as such. She accepted his proposal, but she was very shy, and she explained that she is a maiden, and if she lost herself from being a maiden, then it would affect her future life as a female. And the saint assured her that she would not herself being a maiden. And she embraced the saint, and he had a child from her. And her second wish was, what do you think? She must never smell of fish again. So he granted her that boon, and she had a beautiful scent emanating from her, which could be smelled at 8 miles away. A child was born from her, and because he was born on an island, his name was Dvaipanya. Dvaipanya means island, and because he compiled the Vedas, he was also called Dvaipanya Vedavyas. Dvaipanya Vedavyasa was exceptionally spiritual. He took leave from his mother to undergo austerities and penances in the forest. However, he informed her that whenever she needed him, all she needed to do was think of him and he would appear. He would appear. His mother's name was Satyavati. There was a king named Santanu. There was a king named Santanu. He had a son from Mother Ganga or Ganga Devi called Devarata. And due to a previous benediction, Ganga Devi returned back to her abode, and this king was enchanted by the beauty of Satyavati. So he went and he asked her hand in marriage, and the fisherman declined, stating that he would only acknowledge or give his daughter in hand to the king if the son of his daughter took over the throne from the king or succeeded the king. Now the king already had a son from Ganga Devi, Devaratra. So he went home and he was depressed and despondent. Depressed and despondent. And his son noticed his father's depression and approached him and inquired from him his state of depression. And the king, not wanting his son to know the reason of his depression, informed his son that since he only had one son, he was afraid that if something happened to his only son, the Kuru dynasty would have no king. The lineage will be broken. So Devaratra, being who he is, did not believe that was the only reason for his dad's depression, or the king's depression. So he inquired from the ministers as to his dad's depressed state, and the ministers informed him the truth, that his father was enchanted by Satyavati. However, he could not marry her because he wanted his throne to go to Devarata. So Devarata approached the fisherman, and the same story was given to him. And Devarata promised to become a brahmachari so that his father could marry Satyavati and have her child become the king. And when the Devis and Devtas heard of this great and terrible sacrifice that Devarata had made, they showered flowers upon him from heaven and called him Bhisma. Bhisma means terrible sacrifice. Okay? Satyavati subsequently got married to the king and had 2 sons. However, the first son passed away in the very, very first battle at Kurukshetra with another king that lasted for 3 years. So there was another battle at Kurukshetra beside the one in the Bhagavad Gita. And in this battle, her son fought with another king. This fight lasted 3 years, and her son died heroically on the battle. His other son, Bhisma, in those days, if you wanted to marry somebody, you could kidnap and marry. So Bhisma went and he kidnapped 3 daughters of a king for his brother to marry. And if you were a king, Nana, you could have many wives. Right? So one of the daughters asked Bhisma permission not to marry this king. She wanted to marry somebody else who had fought Bhisma when he had kidnapped this girl. And Bhisma, after consulting, let her go, and the 2 daughters married his stepbrother, Ambika and Ambikila. Right? Ambikila. Ambika, Ambikila. After 7 years, his stepbrother succumbed to illness and passed away. Ambalika, sorry. Second daughter's name was Ambalika. Ambika and Ambalika. Ambika and Ambalika. I'm getting my names confused because I'm supposed to write down these names on a list. But unfortunately I was helping the pavers to pave the entrance today. So Satyavati summoned her stepson, Bhisma, and asked him to marry her daughter-in-laws because the Kuru dynasty was again in trouble as there were no successors. And he refused because he became a brahmachari and he was principled and he wanted to remain a brahmachari. Because once you make a principled decision to suit one set of circumstances, then you cannot change that set of principles to suit another set of circumstances. No matter what it is, and no matter whether it is positive or negative, when you make a decision, when you set yourself up in principle, then you must live through it. And Bhisma reflected just that. And he narrated two stories as case law to defend his position to his stepmother. And after his narration of these two stories, she remembered her firstborn. And he had stated, just think of me and I will appear. So she meditated upon her son and Vedavyas materialized in front of her. She explained her predicament and he agreed. However, he wanted Ambika and Ambalika to perform austerities and penances for a year before he could father children from them. But his mother was in a hurry and he conceded, stating that if they accept him in his grisly, disheveled and smelly condition, Acharya, grisly, and in his smelly condition, then that will accommodate the austerities and penances. So Satyavati instructed her daughter-in-law Ambika and she agreed and she waited in a room expecting a dynamic sage, only to find a grisly, smelly old man enter her room. And she performed the act, but before performing the act, she covered her face and closed her eyes. Vedavyas subsequently informed his mother that because Ambika showed fear and closed her eyes, her husband will be as strong as 10,000 elephants, but he will be blind and he will have 100 Then she pleaded with him that a blind child does not have protocol of being a king. And he conceded that he will now father a child with Amba Lika. So Ambika gave birth to a son, a blind son called Dasa Ratra. Vedavyas then upon his mother's instructions agreed to father a child from Ambalika, and again when he entered her room she was also visualizing a handsome, gallant sage, and she also saw the grisly, smelly Srila Vedavyas, and she paled. She paled. You all know what paled is? P-A-L-E-D. Strini, you know what paled is? When you change color, you go white. P-A-L-E-D, and she paled. And subsequently, Vedavyas again met his mother and informed his mother. And because Ambalika paled, her son will have a pale complexion. Pale means tango. The son's name was Tando, and he was born with all auspicious bodily characteristics. And then the mother once again asked him to have another child. And he went as per his mother's instructions. Ambika was again summoned and she agreed. She agreed. However, in between her agreeing and Vedavyas entering her room, she substituted herself with her maid servant. Maids are in the social category of Sudrani. A female Sudra is called a Sudrani. Right? Vedavyas, after completing his third instruction from his mother, informed his mother, and the Sudrani welcomed him sincerely. The Sudrani welcomed him sincerely. So he informed his mother of the deceit of Ambika and the fact that the Sudrani had welcomed him sincerely, and he stated that that child that would be born from her would be the most intelligent in the world. And he was Vidur. He was Vidur. So let us examine. Let us examine. Whether you conceive a child or whether you conceive a thought in your mind, A thought also gives birth to desires, does it not? If you think when you are afraid, and when you close your eyes and give birth to thoughts, then those are unrighteous thoughts. Because whenever you cover yourself from something, you are in fear of something, then it is unrighteous. And when you give birth to unrighteous thoughts, then the result will be unrighteousness. And when you give thoughts through purity and you embrace these thoughts through pure deliberation, then you give birth to righteousness. You give birth to righteousness. All your actions will be through righteousness. So, Duryodhan he had 100 children. Amita, I want my resident doctor to explain how a woman can give birth to 100 sons. There is, I want a scientific answer, unfortunately. And science has recently discovered a system called cloning. Hasn't science recently discovered cloning? Mahabharata was written how long ago? Was compiled how long ago? 5,000 years ago. And Dr. Singh, when did scientists discover cloning? 5 minutes ago. And if my economist calculates, can you give me a percentage of 20 years to 5,000 whilst we're discussing this? Dr. Singh, I'm still. So, Dasratra's wife was pregnant. And from her womb, a huge piece of flesh came out. And she was about to destroy this flesh when Vedavyas appeared. And he made her cut up this flesh into 101 parts and place it in jars with ghee. I say 101. He had 100 sons and 1 daughter. Right? So when the first son was born, Duryodhan, there was a huge braying sound. Which animal brays? donkey. So he was born as a human, but what sound he made? A donkey brain. And there was a whole lot of animal sounds that started permeating the universe. Because Duryodhan was a portion of Kali. Kali Yug. Duryodhan was a portion of Kali, and he gave the indication of evil. He gave the indication of evil. Are there any questions up until this point? Any questions? Acharya, any questions? Dr. Singh, any questions? You still thinking of the cloning? All scientific experiments has already been concluded in the Vedas. The results are there already. All scientists have to do is consult spiritual masters and understand science as per Vedic injunctions. Everything in science is already in the Vedas. There is still an aeroplane to be invented that will take no fuel. And this aeroplane that is currently running, all these aeroplanes that are currently running, they were already described 5,000 years ago. Already described 5,000 years ago. Every saint has a past, and every sinner has a Jai Shriman Narayan.